So here's a Gen 1 Galaga that I just repaired. Originally, it would not power up at all. So the first step was replacing the PCB. So the PCB, which is on the back of the monitor, for some reason the one that was on here was not powering up at all. This would just be a black screen, nothing would come up at all. So the first step was locating one of these. I found one on the internet that was said to be working, ordered it and plugged it in, and we got to this step, which is a good first step, but there was still another problem. The next issue was that the game would not launch from here, and I found this through process elimination. The first thought was perhaps there was something wrong with the encoder board. As I was trying different encoder boards, I noticed this one had an issue with one of the pins. It's not in the right place, and it's actually pushed through a little bit on the opposite side. So this board is bad at this point. It could probably be repaired if we had to, but I have spares, so at this point I don't need it, so I'll just keep it in the spare parts bin. But that is one other thing to look for if you're having issues with maybe one of your buttons, is to make sure that the pins are not bent or broken on the encoder board. I tried a different one that I had laying around and found out that it did work with that. And then I went back to the original control panel with the original encoder board and found that there was actually a bad button. The bad button in this case was the fire button, which is actually the A button to start a game. And when I replaced it with a different button, it worked fine. I'm not exactly sure what was wrong with the button, but it was one of these older style buttons that Arcade1Up used that look like this, where the wires are just soldered onto the button. And I don't know what happened to, maybe one of the solder joints was broke, maybe the wire broke somewhere, but I had a lot of spare buttons from other mods, so it didn't matter. I just threw it away and found another button, which was actually a little bit of a newer button like this, where the wires connecting to the button are not soldered on, but instead are pushed on. And this is another original button from another model of Arcade1Up. And I replaced this fire button with one of these, and now it works again. So now, when I press fire, I actually get to this screen, and all these other buttons worked fine. So I can still press the one player button, and the game starts. And that's it. So we have a repaired Galaga.